Today's Democrat Party is unlike anything we've faced. It's enormous. It's incredibly diverse, holding its greatest strength in the fastest growing demographics. Funding? Limitless. Worst of all, thanks to public schools, entertainment, and the media, our society is bathed in Democrat ideology from womb to tomb. I'll say it again, we've never faced anything like this, not in the 1960s or even in the 1860s. Are you scared yet? You should be. Yes, the Democrat Party is stronger, bigger, more well-funded, more insidious, and buried deep into the fabric of this nation than anything we've ever seen before. And it's a different Democrat Party than you think. It's progressivism. And for those of you who, like me, understand Star Trek: The Next Generation, put simply, the Democrat Party has become a collective, a machine, like the Borg.
Well, I think the first thing is you got to look at what a collective does. When you think about the collective, when you think about the Borg on Star Trek, which, by the way, was really shocking for them to have the Borg collective on Star Trek. Star Trek as a series was dedicated to socialism and communism. They were. And the idea of Star Trek was socialism.
The Borg was like 2 degrees more collectivist than the Federation, and so bad.
It was crazy. Yeah, and the Ferengi were the evil capitalists, and they were the picture of us on the right. And it was kind of funny that they did the Borg. And it was also odd that Borg are all gray, just like you are in Russia when you're buying bread. But at least stereotypically, until a Russian moves here, and then they were incredibly bright and flamboyant colors. I'm not sure why. Here's the thing. When you look at the Borg in Star Trek, what was the central thing about them? Control. They didn't believe in individuality. They were against it. They were against merit. They were against opportunity. They were centrally controlled, and they had to expand. The goal of the Borg was to control all through the inner control of who they were. So they controlled themselves, and they controlled everyone else. It was incredible. No individualism whatsoever. The Democrat Party, which of course raised me, is completely dedicated to this. I always tell people there's only one reason to be a liberal Democrat, and that is control. And somebody might say, well, wait a minute, I'm a Democrat because I'm pro-choice on abortion. No. There are pro-choice Republicans. You're a pro-choice Democrat because you want to control pro-lifers and make them pay for your choices. Or they'll say, well, I believe in schooling. I believe in good schools. No. Both sides believe in good schools. You are a liberal Democrat because you want to make sure that other people's kids are educated your way. In every single issue, as you start going through issue after issue after issue, the goal of the Democrat is always to control those around them. All right, and that's why they believe in equal outcomes. In the Borg, you have equal outcomes. Nobody is rich in the Borg or poor. Nobody has more or less. It's always evened out. When you look at our side, you got to think, okay, well, how do we beat the Borg? The Borg are incredibly hard to beat enemy. They're always growing. They're incredibly driven. They're totally united around control. They disagree over what things to control, but they come together to control them because it all takes government. Doesn't matter if it's EPA or whatever.
They take over everything they touch and absorb it into themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, can you think of any other way that the Democratic Party is like the Borg? I mean, it's endless, right? I mean, they want to control your
Absolutely.
gun. Yeah, your speech. Everything about them is. Well, to beat the Borg, you still have to have numbers, united numbers, don't you?
Yes.
See, too many people on our side believe that we can win, but with scattered numbers. We can just be scattered, and I'll do my way and you do your way. And if I don't get the candidate I want, I won't vote, or I'll just vote for mine, or third or fourth party or whatever. And I love those parties. But the simple fact is you can't beat the Borg without the numbers. So the question is, how do you unite? What can we unite on? How can we unite on the right to face the Borg, to face the collective? And that's where I come up with family. You see, a family is not designed to control. And people will say, well, wait a minute, I've seen a lot of controls in families. Yeah, when there's control in families, when people act controlling in a family, they're treating each other like a collective.
Well, and that's what we call a dysfunctional family, and they seek therapy.
Right. Well, like when a parent disciplines a child not for the child's benefit, but out of the frustration of the parent. Or when the child rebels against the parent, not because it's right, which can happen, right? But rather they rebel because they just want to get their way and they're stubborn. You use control tactics on the right. Whenever you're using a control tactic on the right, you're treating the family like a collective. But the problem is the right doesn't operate like a collective. We can't. We believe in individualism. Our entire philosophy is the opposite of the collective. So whenever we do control techniques on the right, be they top-down, like say from the GOP leadership throwing people out of committee positions because they didn't vote their way on the Pacific Trade Agreement, just an example, a recent one. Or whether it be bottom-up, the grassroots saying, if you give us Jeb Bush, we're going to walk, we're not going to vote, we're not going to go with the team, okay? Those are control techniques. Those are threats. You're threatening the family.
If you're leading with the idea that everyone deserves the right to protect themselves, and those issues, you're talking, focusing on self-defense, focusing on the very real and relatable things that people in in this country right now, in this time, deal with, instead of going back to kind of the beginning of the country and the thinking at the time that a lot of people don't emotionally access. If you lead instead with the current issues and the relatable things, you can eventually get there.